I want you to look at all the touch points, feel the details, and say, someone cared about this space. Good storytelling is not only experienced but also felt.
Welcome to Marketing Predictions 2026. I'm Kevin Huang, COO of the South China Morning Post. Joining me is Syed Asim Hussain, founder of Black Sheep Restaurants. Since 2012, Asim has built Black Sheep into one of Asia's most compelling hospitality movements, with over 50 brands and expansion into Singapore and Dubai. Today, we'll discuss how his commitment to storytelling is rejuvenating the hospitality industry. Asim, welcome to the South China Morning Post. I want to start off by asking you about scale and success. You run a very sizable empire with over 50 brands, 60 restaurants, and recently expanding into Singapore and Dubai with an over $30 million investment. Now, beyond the impressive numbers, how central has the concept of storytelling and community been to build this success?
Thank you for the question, Kevin. You asked me about storytelling and community building, and both these, these have become very kind of popular buzzwords today. But both these ingredients have been very integral to us crafting, cultivating this black sheep story over the last 13, 14 years. Our restaurants are living, breathing things. We look at our restaurants as an extension of who we are as people, our beliefs, of things that inspire us, and that's what the power of storytelling helps us do. I want guests to come into our restaurants, and even if you don't understand the story of Parisian bistros, or what inspired New Punjab Club, or where we were talking earlier about Peng Leng Jeng, which is our tribute to the vanishing Dai Pai Dongs of Hong Kong. I want you to look at all the touch points, feel the details, and say, someone cared about this space. That's, I feel that good storytelling is not only experienced but also felt. I often sort of say, Kevin, I'm allergic to people sort of kind of say that we're an F&B company, and I'm allergic to that term. We're not an F&B company. We're a hospitality company. We're in the business of looking after people. Yes, it's the medium of food and wine, through the medium of food and wine, but we're in the business of looking after people. And that takes me to community building. Sure. So the first thing that we spoke about, which is storytelling, that in some way we create in a bit of a vacuum. The story telling or the story building process for us is a very introverted process. We do that in a vacuum. We're not looking at trends. We're not looking at what consumers are asking for, but because that's fickle.
Sure.
That's going to change, and not even next year, but next season it's going to change. We're trying to ask ourselves, what's important to me today? What do I want to share with this incredible community of loyal guests that we have? So today, we're going to look after 6,500 guests in our restaurants tonight. It's become a sizable movement in Hong Kong. The storytelling happens in an insulated sort of manner. But when we're looking to attach that story to real estate, that's not an insular process anymore. Then we look at the neighborhood.
Correct.
We look at who's there.
Who's next
what
to you?
What are the needs of the neighborhood? How are people going out? How are people dining? What are their demographics? Trends come and go, and we can sit over here and we're talking about next year and our thesis for next year, and I may be right and I may be wrong. It won't matter as long as we stay committed to these notions of telling stories through food, and as long as we stay committed to our community.
I want to touch on an aspect of the community that are your employees, that are your frontline staff, because every time I go to a Black Sheep, I know there is a consistency when I leave, and I feel welcome, I feel treasured, and I feel good.
Well, Kevin, thank you so much for saying that, and you're a nice guy. You deserve to be treated nicely.
Thank you.
Just kind of manufacturing and delivering on that consistency is everything. Correct. A restaurant, we can deliver an outstanding experience to you once, and that's great, but are we able to kind of build a string of experiences that are good, that keep you coming back? And that's kind of the ultimate challenge within the industry. And I don't think there are many other hospitality groups that kind of have the same approach and commitment to training, learning, and development. We are very committed to self-improvement. Okay. And the self-improvement happens through formal processes that we've implemented. There's a heavy emphasis on getting better every day, getting better every day at our craft individually, and getting better as a team. The second thing I want to say is that, I as the leader of this group, Kevin, my first and my last responsibility is to look after the 1,500 people in my charge in Hong Kong. It's their responsibility then, in turn, to look after the 6,000 guests that we're welcoming, amazing guests like you and your family. We try really, really hard to practice our values. It's easy to talk about things and harder to kind of implement these practices in a consistent manner. I'm very clear on what hills I'm going to die on, and looking after and us looking after our people is a hill that we're going to die on.
Asim, I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about the forecast, economic forecast. A year ago, you talked about how difficult a year it had been in 2024, but you signaled that there was a sign of optimism.
Yep.
How has it played out? What is your expectation of the year ahead?
I should qualify what I'm about to say by saying that I'm an eternal optimist. I have no choice but to be an optimist. We're the size of a small village. The larger black sheep ecosystem is about 10,000 people if you include our champions and our suppliers and our vendors, not only here in Hong Kong, but we're now up and running in Singapore and Dubai as well. Not only is there a lot of responsibility on the leadership team, hopelessness is a sin. It's not on the menu. It's not a choice. At the end of last year, I was neutral to optimistic about the chances of Hong Kong, and we've kind of seen that play out. I think this year for us has been a little bit better than last year. Especially the last quarter of this year is turning out to be an excellent quarter. I think even for our same stores, this is going to be the best quarter we've ever had. November was the best month we've had as a group ever in our 14-year, this past November. I have never been more optimistic about Hong Kong. Just in the first quarter of next year, we're looking to recruit another 250 team members in Hong Kong. We are spending an additional $2 million on recruitment, retention, and renovations at our old restaurants. Maybe this is very self-important, but I feel a lot of responsibility on our shoulders to co-author Hong Kong's comeback story. And we're not going to rest till we kind of take our position back on a global stage.
I want to talk about consumer trends. Consumer sentiment is obviously a key to discretionary spending. What trends are you tracking right now that are forcing you to change how you position some of your restaurants in the market?
I'm going to give you a boring but truthful answer to this, Kevin. We, as I said earlier, our concept development, concept creation for us happens in a vacuum, where we're not, for example, we've just opened a Parisian bistro. There was no market data that suggested that Black Sheep should open a 100-seat French bistro where a guest was spending $200 a night. It's been our biggest commercial hit this year. For us, what's more important is is the concept in alignment with Black Sheep values? Does it feel congruent to us? We've seen this big kind of trend of cheap and cheerful Korean restaurants, where you go and you're spending 30 US or less. We had to be very careful not to take a dive into that warm swimming pool. We've tried to kind of stay away from that. Consumer confidence you see at a restaurant. It's not even about how much money I've made this year or how I feel today about my stock portfolio. It's more about how do I feel about the next 12 months. And if I feel good, then I'm going to open a nice bottle of wine at Magistracy Dining Room tonight.
Your restaurants are known to have very distinct identity. You talked about Pang Lang Jiang, which is a Dai Pai Dong just now, but in most of them that we go to, they're distinct. They have a strong narrative. Now, how important is aspirational branding? And that means creating a desire and dream around the dining experience to your global strategy and to attracting new customers.
I understand that to outside experts like yourself, the branding seems really kind of slick. For us in this kind of crazy lab where we're building things, it's almost like building a person. We're trying to add all these interesting touch points. If this is the story what is this person wearing? What are the glasses like? What are the shoes like? What's the pocket square? What are the socks? If I open something new, my team should be able to talk about it in a very clean, clear manner in one sentence. What is Peng Leng Jeng? Peng Leng Jeng is Black Sheep's tribute to Hong Kong's vanishing Dai Pai Dongs. And then, so that's the marketing promise. Yeah. Then when you come into the restaurant, you need to be able to feel that. If it can be check and check, if I can say it clearly, and then you come in and you experience that cleanly and clearly, that's what a successful restaurant is. And I think even when we get it wrong, either it's step one or step two. Either we didn't say what it was clearly, or we didn't keep the or we didn't keep the marketing promise. You know, we're very. It's a gift and a curse that we operate in Hong Kong because the diners over here, Kevin, are so sophisticated.
Correct.
You know, they have good taste. They've traveled the world. They know all these references that we talk about, that we can't pull wool over people's eyes over here.
I want to talk about your customers. Have you started seeing a shift, or has that mix of your customers in Hong Kong at least, has that changed in the last 3 years? And can you tell us a bit about what the shift is?
Kevin, I'll tell you something interesting about this year, or just the last 4 years, that the demographics of the city have kept changing so drastically, so quickly. The Hong Kong of 2024 looked very different from the Hong Kong of this year. And I wonder if the Hong Kong of this year is going to look very different from the Hong Kong of next year. In that consumer demographics have changed. This year, we saw two things happening in the consumer space. One, we saw a lot more guests from mainland, whether they had newly moved to Hong Kong and they now call Hong Kong home, or they traveled south for business, or they traveled south for leisure. And the other thing that we saw was there's a new cohort of expats. And with both these new groups, they were new groups to us. You know, of course, there's a lot of goodwill in the system. Black Sheep is a brand that's loved and revered in Hong Kong. But we kind of had to go out there this year and sing for our supper again. You know, the goodwill was there. But to a new family that has just moved down from Shanghai or relocated from Brussels, we've got to kind of prove our worthiness again.
And you shared with me earlier that, you know, as you expand into cities like Singapore and Dubai, you've had to redo that again. Because whilst you're very well known now in Hong Kong, people in the new city might not know who the Black Sheep Restaurant Group is.
Look, no one played the bugles as we marched into town in Singapore and in Dubai. We've had to kind of go out, and I like that. It's very fair. But we've had to kind of go back out there and earn trust again with the community. And again, I want to go back to the start. How do we do that? By storytelling that's sincere and deeply connected, and by having the sense of community around our work.
And that in your business is back to basics.
100%.
Good quality food, good pricing, good service, obviously a good location, and all that helps. Asim, you come from a family of restaurateurs. I want to ask you how much of your personal upbringing and family legacy has helped you shape your drive and your unique approach to business.
I guess I'm lucky that some of these things are in my blood and bones. Entrepreneurship, this love for community and people, this love for telling stories through the medium of food and wine. I think a gift I received from them was just Kevin, and this is personal. I'm often not going to be the smartest person in the room, but often I'm going to outwork everyone else in the room. We're not, and this now kind of extends to the spirit of Black Sheep as well. We're not going to kind of roll over and play dead. As I was preparing for our conversation earlier today, I was saying to myself, whatever happens next year, doesn't matter. We're playing the long game. We want to be here for the next 100 years, similar to SCMP. So I think that one thing that I've had in my kind of informal training is that we just don't let results of today deter us too much. Whether they're good results or bad results, we're trying to play the long game.
Asim, great having you in the SCMP studio. Thank you very much for everything, and all the best in 2026.
Thank you.